Okay, so for the photo mats in your albums, you're going to decide, do you want them out of pattern paper with the prints, or do you want them out of cardstock? When you make this album, you're going to have a lot of leftover scraps that you can cut down into different size photo mats. I have cut these down. May not use them all in the album, but I want to show you a couple of ways to do that. Now, if you're just doing a single mat, I like to cut mine bigger than the actual photos. So this one is, these little ones here are, I cut them down to 3.5 by 3.5 for 3 by 3 photos. So this is the size if you just want it single. Now, maybe you like the mats that have a flap up and have like 2 mats, one on the top, one on the inside, and one on the, that's attached down. There are several ways to make, if you want the type like this that has a flip, and you're going to have to use a magnet to hold them down in your book. So this one is an example for a 4 by 6 photo, which I cut, and this, you have to cut a whole piece of cardstock to do this, unless you're using the 8.5 by 11. But it is a 9-inch piece by 6.5, and I score it on the 9-inch side in half at 4.5, and then you fold it in half. So then I will use small magnets. There they are. And I want it underneath where the part's going to be gluing onto the page. Hope I'm making sense with this, because I'm not ready to put it in my book yet. So let me take a couple of magnets here. These are the smallest magnet snaps, and they don't like to come out of the package very easy because they're so little, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to put one on the back. I'm going to separate them. This is a little bit different than what I normally do with magnets. So I'm going to put one here on the very back. Let's see how this works. And I'm going to add, that way I don't have to add any pattern paper. It is behind that. Then you decide, do you want pattern paper on the front that's in the album, or do you want it on the inside? And I'm going to put mine on the front. So I'm going to stick this down. Now you will see that the paper is here on the sticky part is on the back side. So I'm going to pull this off and see if I can just let it fall in place. It's kind of hard with the sticky on it. There we go. Now those two are attached down, and those are is one, and it gives you a mat of 4.5 wide by 6.5. So you can put it in your book either as a horizontal or a vertical photo. And I'm looking for my score tape right quick. I just want to cover these little magnets so they don't come loose right now. So as you see, I have one on the front and one on the back. And so one will be attached down in the book, and it will hide. And this one is here on the front, and I'll add some pattern paper. So that's how you do one where you actually make the full mat. And you can do this with any size. You just have to cut the piece out and then fold it in half to get the size that you need for your photo mat. Now, that is if you're wanting to cut into new pieces of cardstock. But you have all these scraps, so what do you do with those? So, for example, I was able to take some scraps and cut down for a photo mat that is 5.5 by 5.5 for 5 by 5 photos. And I want 2 to go together to create my photo mat. This was not cut right. Let me recut this one, 5.5. Didn't get that one cut. Okay, so now they should be the same. Okay, so you're going to have to make a little hinge. And this is a hinge here that's 5.5 long by 1 inch wide. And you're going to score your hinge, the 1-inch hinge, in half. Put the 1 inch in at the top, score it a 1/2 inch. That gives you your hinge. And the reason I'm not showing you me putting these in my book is because it's going to depend on your photos or who you're giving it to, what you want the size of photo mats. I will show you once I have mine all done, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. So you're going to take one of your 5.5 by 5.5 mats, and you're going to add glue to 1/2 of a hinge or score tape, whichever you want to use. Attach the folded edge right up against a cut edge. Line them up nice and straight. Burnish that down. So that gives you a hinge. Then you take your other piece, and if you don't want that hinge showing on the inside, you can put it to the outside where it's going to be glued down. So I'm going to put the glue on the inside of my hinge. I'm going to set this one in. It's like making a booklet with a hinge. Just make sure that it's lined up. And so this is a 5.5 by 5.5 photo mat. And doing that, I have a little edge here, so I'm going to trim that off. Could be I'm half asleep this morning. Not sure. Let's see here. Let's cut that off just a little bit. Okay. That's better. So there you have your hinge, and you would add, your mat with the fold. This one's going to glue down, so you would put the magnets on the exact same way, and then you can put this in your book, and you have a place for 5.5, 5.5, and 5.5. And if you don't like this hinge here, what you could do is put a strip of pretty pattern paper there, or cover that whole section. It's going to be up to you. Okay, so that's how you make different size mats. Let me give you the sizes of the mats that I'm going to be cutting. For 3x4 photos, the actual mat size will be 3.5 by 4.5. For 3x5 photos, 3.5 by 5.5 is the mat size. 5x7, I have one here that I've already cut. 5.5 by 7.5, and I did punch the corners, so that's an option that's up to you. Use some kind of decorative punch if you want, or a corner rounder. 3x3 photos on a 3.5 by 3.5 mat. 4x4 photos, 4.5 by 4.5, and 5x5 photos on a 5.5 by 5.5. I was going to use an 8x10 on my first page, but it covered up a lot of the pretty paper, so I decided to go with the 5x7 instead, but an 8x10 would be 8.5 by 10.5. Okay, so I'm going to keep working, decorating my album and adding my photo mats until it's finished. This concludes the tutorial series for my 12x12 wedding album that I designed for Country Craft Creations using Prima's Poetic Rose Paper Collection. Here are some photos of my finished pages that show how I decorated it. For more details, you can see my showcase video that is also here on YouTube that shows the different pages with the flips and the flaps and the photo mats and how I put them in my book. I want to thank you so much for watching and following along. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked it, please subscribe and click on the bell so you'll know when my next project video is ready. You will notice in the acrylic pocket that there is a booklet that is not shown in the tutorial here. That's because it's my second project for Country Craft Creations using this collection, and I will be having a separate showcase video and tutorial of that very soon. So again, thank you for watching, and please check out countrycraftcreations.com for your crafting and paper crafting album making supplies, and I'll check back with you later. Bye-bye.